Hi dear students, how are you? Hope that all of you are keeping fine and following the classes that we have started. And on the previous day, we discussed the part 2 of the short story, A Horse and Two Gods by R.K. Narayan. And today we are going to discuss the rest of the story, and I hope that you understood. It is a simple story, even though it is a long one, it is very simple. So I hope that you understood the story, and if there is any doubts, you can clarify your doubts by asking me or sending a message to me. You can clarify your doubts, and if you have any doubts, you just ask or send a message, and on the next class I will clarify. So when you send the message, you just mention your name and write your doubt. Then on the next day I will clarify that doubt. So let us continue the chapter discussion. You may please take page number 60, second paragraph. Muni looked reflective at the end of this long oration and said rather feebly, yes, no, as a concession to the other's language, and went on in Tamil. When I was this high, he indicated a foot high. I had heard my uncle say. Muni looked reflective. Reflective means here, just like he was thinking about something. He just reflectively at the end of long oration, long speech by the foreigner or the American traveler. What was the speech? He was just saying what about the reason for coming to India. So Muni just carefully listened the conversation, and at the end of this conversation, at the end of this speech, he looked like he was just thinking about the things that is told by the foreigner, even though he didn't understand anything. And at the end, rather feebly means without having any force, in a mild voice he said yes or no. As a concession to the other's language. As a concession here means as a response to others' language. That means he just respond yes or no as a concession, as a response to the foreigner's language or his speech. Then Muni went on speaking in Tamil. He wanted to say something. Anyway, the foreigner is speaking something and Muni didn't understand anything. So Muni also thought of saying something. Why? Because earlier you have noticed, since Muni is a 70-year-old man, he is not able to run away from this person, because Muni is thinking this person as a policeman and he is there to arrest Muni. So anyway, Muni is not able to run away from this foreigner. Only the way is that just speak with this foreigner and prevent him from arresting Muni. That we have earlier seen. So it is better to talk more. So Muni also continued to speak something. He said, when I was this high, I indicated a foot high. So when he was a foot high, then I heard my uncle say. Muni heard something. So Muni wanted to say something to this foreigner. So there is a stop. The conversation is broken there. And Muni wanted to just convey, and he just wanted to continue the conversation with this foreigner. And then no one can tell what he was planning to say, as the other interpreted him at this stage to ask, boy, what is the secret of your teeth? How old are you? So Muni was trying to say something to this foreigner, but the author here says that no one was actually knowing what he was planning to say. Even Muni also not knowing about what he was trying to say, and he just, in order to continue the conversation, he was trying to say something. So no one was actually knowing about what Muni was trying to say. And before he continuing, the foreigner interpreted the conversation and asked the boy, what is the secret of your teeth? The foreigner, he just wanted to know the secret of the teeth of Muni, and we know only 4 left. It is the reason I said earlier that there is a humor in this story. The foreigner, in order to, he just asking this person Muni, what is the secret of Muni's teeth, and only 4 left that we know. And he is addressing, that also you should see, he is addressing this old person as a boy. Muni forgot what he had started to say and remarked, "Sometime we to lose our cattle. Jackals or cheetahs may sometimes carry them off, but sometimes it is just theft from over in the next village. And then we will know who has done it. Our priest at the temple can see in the camphor flame the face of the thief, and when he is caught, he gestured with his hands a perfect mincing of meat." Muni forgot what he had started to say. Earlier we had seen that Muni was about to say, but the foreigner interpreted the conversation, so Muni was not able to say. So now actually Muni also forgot what he was about to say, so he continued with something other, and he just wanted to convey the loss of cattle, and he is saying that sometimes we to lose our cattle, how the jackals or cheetahs may take them or carry them off. Carry them off means take them away. And sometimes animals do, and other time what is really happening, some thieves in the next village, they take the animals from his village to their village. And what the people used to do, then they used to go to the priest. And the priest in camphor flame, a waxy crystal flame, and he could see the face of the thief. Some supernatural power the priest is having. The villagers believe, and we do not know actually whether he is having the power. Still, the villagers believe that the priest is having some supernatural powers, and he could identify or he could get the face of the thief. And what they do once they get the thief, he is just showing mincing of meat. Hands at perfect mincing. Mincing means chopping. That means they will punish him. Whenever they get the thief, the one who is stealing their cattle or the sheep, then the villagers used to punish the thief. That is the thing the Muni is trying to say in this village, and there is no connection in the conversation. The foreigner is asked something, the foreigner asked about the teeth of Muni, but here Muni is saying about the lost cattle and how it happened and what they used to do whenever they caught the thief. Next paragraph. The American washed his hands intently and said, "I know what you mean. Chop something. Maybe I am holding you up and you want to chop wood. Where is your axe? Hand it to me. Where is your axe? Hand it to me and show me what to chop. I do enjoy it, just a hobby. We get a lot of driftwood along the backwater near my house. And on Sundays, I do nothing but chop wood for the fireplace. I really feel different when I watch the fire in the fireplace, although it may take all the sections of the Sunday New York Times to get a fire started." And he smiled at this reference. The American washed his hands intently. Intently means very attentively. He washed the hands of Muni very attentive manner. Why? Because Muni showed his hands chopping something. So from that one, the American understood that Muni wanted to chop something, and he concluded that Muni wanted to chop the woods. And even this foreigner was ready to chop some wood for Muni, and he asked, "Where is the axe? And I will do that one." Why? Because this foreigner, he used to chop the woods at his hometown, and he is saying that I do enjoy it, just a hobby. It was a just hobby for the foreigner to cut the woods or chop the woods. And he used to get the driftwood. Driftwood means the wood that came onto the shores, washed onto the shores by the water. Especially in the lakes, we can see the woods that is there on the shores, and he used to chop such a kind of woods for what? For the fireplace during the winter time. I really feel different when I watch the fire in the fireplace, although it may take more times to burn, because in order to start the fire, it takes more time. So then what this American or the foreigner used to do, he took all the sections of the Sunday New York Times. That means one paper, one full newspaper he used to take in order to start the fire, and he was very happy to see such kind of things, and he smiled at this reference. What is the reference given here? That means in order to start the fire, he took all the sections of the Sunday New York Times. Muni felt totally confused, but decided the best thing would be to make an attempt to get away from this place. He tried to edge out, saying, "Must go home," and turned to go. So Muni understood that the situation is not something good, and he is totally confused and puzzled, and he was not understanding anything. The foreigner is saying something and Muni didn't understand anything, so he wanted to just get away from the place. So he would make an attempt to get away from this place. He tried to edge out. That means he just tried to move out from the place and said, "Must go home," and turned to go. He was just trying to go from the place or leave the place. Why? Because he was totally confused and he was not understanding anything, whatever things spoken by the foreigner. And he was thinking that there is a danger awaiting. The other seized his shoulder and said desperately, "If there is no one, absolutely no one here to translate for me?" He looked up and down the road, which was deserted in this hot afternoon. The stranger almost pinioned Muni's back to the statue and asked, "Isn't this statue yours? Why don't you sell it to me?" Here, the foreigner is totally desperated. Desperated means without hope. Why? Because the foreigner is not understanding whatever Muni is speaking, and Muni also is not speaking. Muni also is not understanding whatever said by the foreigner. A total confusion was there. So foreigner was just searching for a translator. That is why he is asking, "Is there any translator here?" And he looked there on the highway. Then it was deserted. It was a hot afternoon, so no one was there, and he was totally disappointed. Then the stranger almost pinioned. Last paragraph we had seen that Muni was trying to get away from the place. So the stranger almost pinioned. Pinion means restrict the movement of someone or immobilize. He just immobilized or restrained the movements of Muni and pushed him near to the statue and asked whether that statue belongs to Muni. And he asked Muni that whether Muni is ready to sell the statue to the foreigner. So you understood that the foreigner is thinking that the statue belongs to Muni. Why? Because Muni is sleeping there and he is standing under the particular statue. So the foreigner thought that the statue belongs to Muni and he wanted to buy that one. That is why he is asking to Muni whether Muni is ready to sell the statue. And do you think Muni can understand this? So we will see in the next paragraph. The old man now understood the reference to the horse, thought for a second and said in his own language, "I was an urchin this high when I heard my grandfather explain this horse and warrior, and my grandfather himself was the high when he heard his grandfather." Whose grandfather? So Muni went on telling about the history of this horse and warrior. And he understood the reference is to the horse. Why? Because the foreigner was pointing to the horse and the warrior. So Muni thought that the reference is to the Muni understood that the reference is to the horse, and he was just trying to explain the history of the horse and the warrior. And he said that when I was urchin means child, when I was a child, my grandfather said about this horse and warrior, and my grandfather means Muni's grandfather got the information when he was a child from his grandfather. So he went on telling about the history of horse and the warrior. So from there you can understand that Muni didn't understand what was conveyed by the foreigner. Foreigner asked about the owner of the horse and whether Muni is going to sell the horse, the statue, the particular statue. And Muni didn't understand, so he went on telling about the history of the horse. The other man interrupted him. I don't want to seem to have stopped here for nothing. I will offer you a good price for this, he said, indicating the horse. He concluded without the least doubt that Muni owned this mud horse. Perhaps he guessed by the way he sat on its pedestal, like other souvenir sellers in this country, presiding over their wares. Now here the foreigner interpreted the explanation given by the Muni. Muni was telling about the history of the horse and it was interpreted by the foreigner, and foreigner said, and he is ready to pay anything for this particular statue. He is ready to pay a high amount of money for this particular statue, and he without any doubt believed that that horse, the statue, is owned by Muni. How? Because he used to see some kind of souvenir sellers. Souvenir sellers means the one who sells the relics or some kind of articles. And in this country, presiding over their wares. Presiding over means in charge of their wares, their potteries, or their articles or the works. And you also might have seen some of the people, those who are sitting in the cities, okay, they just sit near to their products and sell the products. Just like here, foreigner also noticed that Muni was sitting there on the pedestal of this horse. So foreigner was confused that Muni is the owner. Why? Because he had the experience that many other souvenir sellers, they sell their products by sitting near to their products, and they are in charge of their products. Just like that, Muni was sitting there on the pedestal. So foreigner misunderstood that this particular horse statue is owned by Muni. So that is the reason why the foreigner believed that this statue belonged to Muni. So if there is any question related to that, you can answer in that way, because the foreigner, he confused, because just like other souvenir sellers, Muni also was sitting on the pedestal of this horse. So the foreigner believed that this statue belonged to Muni. Muni followed the man's eyes and pointing fingers and dimly understood the subject matter, and feeling relieved that the theme of the mutilated body had been abandoned, at least for the time being, said again enthusiastically, I was this high when my grandfather told me about this horse and the warrior, and my grandfather was this high when he himself. Muni understood that the foreigner is not speaking about the mutilated body that we had seen earlier, and Muni was confused that this foreigner is there to arrest Muni for the particular death of a particular person. Now Muni understood that the topic is not that one, and he understood that it is something connected with the horse. That is why how he understood, because the man's eyes and pointing fingers, Muni followed the man's eye and pointing fingers, and he understood that the subject matter is something related to horse, and the matter related to the mutilated body, that is already abandoned for a time being. And again Muni went on telling about the history of the horse. The last paragraph in page number 61. The Tamil that Muni spoke was stimulating even as pure sound, and the foreigner listened with fascination. I wish I had my tape recorder here, he said, assuming the pleasantest expression. Your language sounds wonderful. I get a kick out of every word you utter here. He indicated his ears. But you don't have to waste your breath in sales talk. I appreciate the article. You don't have to explain its points. Here, the foreigner just confused that Muni was negotiating. He was just bargaining with the products and arguing for the price, for the high price. The foreigner just misunderstood. And here Muni went on speaking in Tamil, and he was actually speaking about the history of the horse and the warrior. And from the information he got from his grandfather, and he was just trying to convey the information to the foreigner. But the foreigner confused that he was saying about the horse and negotiating the amount of the horse. And Muni spoke stimulating way, that means in an encouraging way, and the foreigner listened with fascination, that means very attentively, and with all the attention he listened the conversation and whatever spoken by Muni. And he wished that if he was having the tape recorder, he could record the things spoken by Muni, because he was just listening with all attention, the conversation, the speech given by Muni. He said, assuming the pleasantest expression, he expressed the pleasant expression, and then he said that the foreigner said, the Tamil which was spoken by Muni gave a kick to foreigner, and he indicated his ears, but you don't have to waste your breath in sales talk. Sales talk means the negotiations or the bargaining, the arguments in order to get more price. So foreigner is asking, you need not to waste your talk or words, the breath for the sales talk. For bargaining and negotiating, I am ready to give any amount of money. I am ready to give good amount of money. So as I told earlier, the foreigner is confused here. He is confused that, what is the reason for his confusion? By listening the conversation, while listening the speech given by Muni, the foreigner misunderstood that Muni is bargaining about the horse statue, and in a response to that one, the foreigner is saying that he is ready to give good amount of money for this particular statue, and there is no need of bargaining for this product. Why? Because this product is something very good. I appreciate the article. That means he loves the article, and he is very much attracted towards the particular article. What is the article here? That is the statue of the horse, and he liked that one, and he wanted to buy that one, and he was ready to give a good amount of money, and he says there is no need of bargaining or negotiating for this particular product. Take page number 62. I never went to a school. In those days only Brahmin went to schools, but we had to go out and work in the fields morning till night, from sowing to harvest time. And when Pongal came and we had cut the harvest, my father allowed me to go out and play with others at the tank. And so I don't know the Parangi language you speak. Even little fellows in your country probably speak the Parangi language, but here only learned men and officers know it. So here in a way, Muni conveys the social conditions that were prevailing in Indian society, the social evils. That time only the Brahmin caste, they were allowed to learn something. No other caste people were allowed to learn, and he was not belong to Brahmin caste, and he was a lower caste. So he did not get a proper education. So in a way the author criticized the caste system or the social evils that were prevailing in Indian society. And he said the Brahmins, the students, the children, the Brahmin children, they got enough opportunity to learn something, but these poor low class people or low caste people, children, they used to work in the fields from morning till the night. But whenever the Pongal came, Pongal is the celebration there in Tamil Nadu. So whenever the Pongal came, they used enough time to play. And in a way, Muni says that he doesn't know the Parangi language. Parangi language means referring to the English language. And he says he doesn't know the English language. What is the reason? Because he never got a chance to learn anything, because only Brahmin children, they were allowed to learn. And these low caste people, they were supposed to work in the fields, and he did not get enough education. That is why he doesn't know the English language. And he is adding that one, even the children there in foreign countries, they know the Parangi language. Of course, the children they know the language, their own language they know. As we know our own mother language, the foreigners, they know their mother language, but Muni is not that much aware about that one. But he says, in your country everyone knows English, but here in my country only learned people and the officers, they know the language. So in a way, Muni is saying about the criticizing the social evils that were prevailing in the society, and he gives an idea about the social evils that were prevailing in the society, the condition of the lower caste people, why he was not able to learn anything because he did not get a proper schooling because he belonged to a particular low caste category. The foreigner laughed heartily, took out another cigarette and offered it to Muni, who now smoked with ease, deciding to stay on if the fellow was going to be so good as to keep up his cigarette supply. The American now stood up on the pedestal in the attitude of a demonstrative lecturer and said, running his finger along some of the curved decorations around the horse's neck, speaking slowly and uttering his words syllabus by syllabus, I could give a sales talk for this better than anyone else. This is a marvelous combination of yellow and indigo. Though faded now, how do you people of this country achieve these flaming colors? So here a foreigner again offered cigarette to Muni, and Muni was very happy. Actually he was about to get away from the place or go away from the place, but since this foreigner was so good and he was giving cigarette, Muni thought of staying there because he may get the cigarette from this foreigner. Then the foreigner stood up on the pedestal, on the base of this statue he stood, and he just wanted to give a demonstrative lecture about the statue, and he was saying that he is the best person to say something about this particular statue, and he says better than anyone else he can give a sales talk. And he just continued about the colors and the marvelous work of this statue, and finally there is a question asked by this person, how do you people of this country achieve these flaming colors? And earlier we had understood that the purpose of the foreigner's visit is to understand the different civilization, and he just wanted to understand the civilization in India, and he just wanted to understand the works of people, and especially about the statue. He was wondered, and he was totally wondered, and that is why earlier we have seen when he saw the statue, he said it is a marvelous work. Now he is totally wondering, and he is asking, how do you people of this country, Indians, achieve these flaming colors? And he was thinking that these things were only in European countries, and when he saw such a kind of colors, such a kind of beautiful colors and the combination in India, then he was totally amazed and wondered. Muni, now assured that the subject was still the horse and not the dead body, said, this is our guardian. It means death to our adversaries. At the end of Kali Yuga, the world and all other worlds will be destroyed, and the Redeemer will come in the shape of a horse called Kalki. The horse will come to life and gallop and trample down all bad men. Muni understood that this person is speaking about the horse, and the reference is to horse, not about the body or the mutilated body. So he went on explaining about the horse and the speciality of this particular horse. And Muni said, according to the villages, this horse, it is the guardian of the people, and the meaning of this horse, it is that end of all the adversaries. Adversaries means all kind of disputes and the problem. This particular horse is the guardian of the villages, and that brings end to all the adversaries, all the disputes and the problems that the villages will face. Muni went on explaining about the horse, and he said, at the end of Kali Yuga, according to Hindu tradition and the mythology, there are 4 yugas or the cycle of yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and finally the Kali Yuga. That means the end of the world. And what will happen during the Kali Yuga? This world and all other worlds will be destroyed. That means Kali Yuga means end of all worlds. And the Redeemer will, that means the Savior will come in the shape of a horse called Kalki. So that is the Hindu mythology. There are different yugas, and Kali Yuga is the end of all yugas, and in that one the Redeemer or the Savior will come in the form of a horse, and the Redeemer's name is Kalki. And this horse will come to life. That means he is referring this statue and saying that this horse will get the life and gallop. That means fasting. That means they may run away and trample down all bad men. Trample down means destroy all bad men. So it is a Hindu mythology, as I told earlier. There are 4 yugas and Kali Yuga is the end of all yugas, and during the Kali Yuga the destruction of all worlds will happen, and on that time the Redeemer will come in the shape of a horse, and the name of the Redeemer is Kalki, and he will destroy all the bad person. That is why they have placed this particular statue in the village, and that is the guardian of the entire village. While he was brooding on this pleasant vision, the foreigner utilized the pause to say, I assure you that this will have the best home in the USA. I will push away the bookcase. You know I love books and I am a member of 5 book clubs. And the choice and bonus volumes mount up to pile really in our living room, as high as this horse itself, but they will have to go. Ruth may disapprove, but I will convince. So here we can understand that Muni took a short break, a pause for what he was just brooding on this pleasant vision. Brooding means he was just showing deep interest in thinking about something. What was he was thinking? The pleasant vision of Kalki is coming and destroying all the bad people. So there was a pause. The person, Muni, he was just thinking about the pleasant vision that is coming of the Kalki. And that time, this foreigner made use of that particular pause, and he said that he is assuring that he will give a better place for this horse statue in USA, and even he is ready to sacrifice his books and books shelf. He is actually a book lover, but even he is ready to leave all the books from his house, and he is saying that all the volumes and the books really mount up to a pile really in our living room. Pile means one on another, and it was just very high as the horse. He is saying that the books, the collection of books, pile, that means one on another, it was just as high as this horse itself. So he has got large collection of books, and even he is ready to sacrifice that books, and he is ready to place the horse in the living room. And he says, but they will have to go. That means the books have to go from the living room, and he is ready to leave all the books. And then he continues that Ruth, that means the wife of this foreigner, may disapprove or disagree with that one, but the foreigner is ready to convince. So here from this you can understand that Muni took a short break, and because he was just thinking about the pleasant vision of Kalki's coming. And later the foreigner made use of such pause, and he said to Muni that he is ready to offer a better place for the statue in USA in his house, and for that purpose he is ready to sacrifice his book collection. And even his wife may not agree with that one, but he is ready to convince the wife. So we will continue. Muni continued his description of the end of the world. Our Pandit discoursed at the temple once how the oceans are going to close over the earth in a huge wave and swallow us. This horse will grow bigger than the biggest wave and carry on its back only the good people, and kick into the floods the evil ones. Plenty of them about. He said reflectively. Do you know when it is going to happen? He asked. So Muni continued his conversation. After taking a pause, he continued anyway his conversation, and he didn't understand anything that was said by this foreigner. So he continued his conversation, and he said about the end of the world. And he said, our Pandit discoursed. Discourse means with authority. They taught or spoke about the end of the world and how it will happen. That means the oceans are going to close over the earth in a huge wave. That means the huge waves are coming to earth and it will destroy the earth, and then this horse will become bigger than the biggest wave and take only the good people. And what will happen to the evil people? And it will be kicked into the flood, the evil ones. The horse will kick into the floods the evil ones, and the good people will be saved. And with a thought or in a reflective manner, he was just thinking about that one. And then he continued and asked a question to the foreigner, whether the foreigner is aware about the end of the world and the timing. Do you know when it is going to happen? So in this paragraph, two things we can notice. Munir is taking a break or pause there. Then the foreigner is continuing his speech, and he said that he is ready to give a good place there in America, and even he is ready to sacrifice his books. Then again Munir went on telling about the end of the world, and he said the end of the world will come and the horse will become biggest and the horse will save the good people and punish the evil people. And Munir finally asked a question to this foreigner, that whether the foreigner is aware about the timing of Kali Yuga or the end of the world. The foreigner now understood by the tone of the other that a question was being asked, and said, I am not a millionaire but a modest businessman. My trade is coffee. So the businessman understood, the foreigner understood that a question was being asked by Munir. What was the question actually? It was about the end of the world, but the foreigner misunderstood that he was asking about the profession and the work of this foreigner. And amidst of all this wilderness of the obscure sound, Munir got the word coffee and said, if you want to drink coffee, drive further up in the next town. They have Friday market, and there they open coffee hotels. So I learned from passers-by. Amidst, that means the entire area surrounded with all the noises and all the disturbance and their obscure sound. This means unknown sounds. Munir caught a particular word, that is coffee. All the strange sounds were there, but among that one, Munir caught a particular word and he understood the word coffee. Because in Tamil also they use the same word, kapi. Tamil they spell it as, they pronounce it as kapi, and said, if you want to drink kapi, drive further out in the next town. He is saying that if you want to drink kapi or coffee, then in the next town you will get, and there the Friday markets are there, and the kapi hotels, that means the coffee shops are there, from there you will get. And how Munir got such a kind of information? From the passers-by, those who pass the highways. From them only Munir got the information, and he conveyed that message, that information to the foreigner, and said that if you want to drink the coffee, you may please go to the next village. The foreigner said, I repeat, I am not a millionaire. Ours is a modest business. After all, we can afford to buy more than 60 minutes of TV time in a month, which works out to 2 minutes a day. That's all. Although in the course of time we will maybe sponsor a 1 hour show regularly if our sales graph continues to go up. So here from this paragraph we will get the financial background of this foreigner. He is not a millionaire, but he is a rich person. He is saying that again, once again confirming that he is not a millionaire and his is a modest business. That means comparatively good business. And now about the advertisement, he is saying that at least 60 minutes per month he could give the advertisement there in the TVs. That means 2 minutes per day. And that is why he is saying that he is not a millionaire, a modest businessman, and he was only able to give 2 minutes advertisement per day. And finally he concludes that okay, if the business grow up and if the graph continues to go up, then he could give more time for the advertisement and 1 hour slow show regularly in the TV. So from this paragraph we will get the financial background of this person. He is not a millionaire, but he is a rich person, and he is able to give 2 minutes videos in the TV as an advertisement, and if the business grow up or the business graph grow up, then he could give more time for advertisement. Then the visitor, feeling that he had spent too much time already, said, "Tell me, will you accept 100 rupees or not for this horse? I would love to take the whiskered soldier also, but no space for him this year. I will have to cancel my air ticket and take a boat home. I suppose Ruth can go by air if she likes, but I will go with the horse and keep him in my cabin all the way if necessary." And he smiled at the picture of himself voyaging across the seas, hugging his horse. He added, "I will have to pad it with the straw so that it doesn't break." So here the visitor or the foreigner is offering money for paying for the horse. He wanted to buy the horse and he is offering the money, and he is saying whether 100 rupees is enough for the horse, and he is ready to give 100 rupees for the horse statue. And he also allows to take the whiskered soldier. Whiskered means unshaven soldier, but there is no space when he travel back to USA or America, so he is not going to take the soldier this year. And in order to take this horse, what he has to do, he has to cancel his air ticket, and he is allowing his wife to travel by flight or air. And he is ready to travel by boat, and he will take the horse in the boat. And he smiled at the picture. "But I will go with the horse." He is saying that he is ready to go with the sheep and keep him in my cabin all the way. That means all the way from India to USA, he is ready to sit with the horse in the cabin. And he was just thinking about, just smile at the picture of himself voyaging across the seas. Voyages means sail over. About the journey, he was just thinking about the journey, just sitting near to the horse, and on a boat he is traveling. He was just picturing that image. He added, "I will have to pad it with." That means he has to cover this statue with the straws, otherwise it may break. So here the foreigner, he offers money to Muni and 100 rupees, and he is ready to take the horse to America, and he will give a better place there. And he is ready to cancel his air ticket, and he is planning to go by boat carrying this horse. "I have my station wagon, as you see. I can push the seat back and take the horse in if you will just lend me a hand with it." So he is referring to his car and saying, "I have got a wagon." That means the car is already there, and the foreigner says that he can take the horse if Muni give him a help. "If you will just lend me a hand with it, then I will take the horse inside the car and take away the horse, and you take the money, 100 rupees. Lend me a hand, I can lift off the horse from its pedestal after picking out the cement of the joints. We can do anything if we have a basis of understanding." So here again he is asking help from Muni to take out this horse, and he is saying that he will be able to lift the thing from the pedestal after picking the cement, and for that one he needs the help of Muni, and he is asking Muni for help and concluding that if there is a common understanding, then it will be very easy to do. At this stage, the mutual mystification was complete, and there was no need even to carry on a guessing game at the meaning of words. The old man chatted away in the spirit of balancing of these credits and debits of conversational exchange, and said in order to be on the credit side. That means the mystification means the total confusion was there. The mutual mystification, a total or mutual mystification or confusion with each other we can find here, and there is no need of speaking too much. The word of game, it is not required, because they don't know each other the languages. One is speaking in Tamil and other one is speaking in English. Then about the conversational exchange, about debit and credit. One is standing on the place of credit and other is standing the debit. The credit side, we can say that it is Muni, because he is the person who is going to sell the horse according to the foreigner, and the foreigner is the person who is going to buy the product. and he just being on the credit side, he is asking, "Oh honorable one, I hope God has blessed you with a numerous progeny." Now he is addressing, Muni is addressing this foreigner as an honorable person, and he feels that the God has blessed this foreigner with many children, progeny. "I say this because you seem to be a good man, willing to stay beside an old man and talk to him while all day I have none to talk to except when somebody stops by to ask for a piece of tobacco." So here he says that the person, the foreigner is blessed with many children. Why he is saying? Because the foreigner, he showed interest in talking with a 70-year-old man. No one shows such a kind of interest. He used to sit for a long time, but no one was interested in talking with this old person. But here he found a difference. At least this foreigner, he is ready to talk for some times, and he offered a cigarette also. So the old man was very happy, and he used to speak to some people whenever someone stopped there in order to ask for tobacco. "But I seldom have it." That means he seldom, very rarely he used to speak, even the people, those who ask for the tobacco. Why? Because tobacco is not what it is used to be at one time, and I have given up chewing. He already given up. He left the tobacco or chewing habit, and I cannot afford it nowadays. Why he gave up chewing or using tobacco? Because he is not able to purchase the things. Noting the other's interest in his speech, Muni felt encouraged to ask, "How many children have you?" With appropriate gestures with his hands, realizing that a question was being asked, the red man replied, "I said 100." That means in order to make the foreigner to understand the question, he used some kind of gestures. Actually, he asked the number of children, but the red or the foreigner, he understood that he was just bargaining. He was just asking about the money. So again, he repeated the amount. That means 100 rupees, which encouraged Muni to go into details. "How many of your children are boys and how many girls? Where are they? Is your daughter married?" So he is continuing many questions about the children and whether they are married, whether they are boys or girls. And you should notice the question asked by Muni earlier. "How many children have you?" And answer by foreigner is that 100. Actually, you should understand that the foreigner intended about the money of the statue. And here Muni is again continuing with the different questions about the children, girls, daughters, and the son-in-laws or the daughter-in-laws. And in answer to these questions, the red man dashed his hand into the pocket and brought forth his wallet in order to take immediate advantage of the bearish trend in the market. Dashed his hand, that means moving very fast into the pocket, and he took the wallet from his pocket. And he wanted to make use of the immediate advantage of the bearish, that means the dropping trend in the market. He wanted to just make use of the market. That means he should buy. He wanted to buy the product as soon as earlier. Otherwise, this Muni, he may ask for more amount. He is thinking in that way. The foreigner is thinking in that way. Muni may ask more amount, and before that, it is better to make a deal with this old person. So he was trying to get the money from his pocket. He flourished a 100 rupee currency note and said, "Well, this is what I meant." Flourished means just waved in front of Muni and said, "This is the money that I meant. You can take 100 rupees and give the horse to me." So the old man now realized that some financial element was entering their talk. He peered closely at the currency note. The like was which he had never seen in his life. He knew the 5 and 10 by their colors, although always in other people's hands, while his own earning at any time was in coppers and nickels. What was this man flourishing the note for? Perhaps asking for change. He laughed to himself at the notion of anyone coming to him for changing 1,000 or 10,000 rupees note. So here from these lines we can understand that the old person, he didn't understand what was the reason for the flourishment of this 100 rupees note. He saw that this person is showing the 100 rupees note, And by seeing that one, Muni thought that he just want asking for the change. He understood that there is a financial element entering into their topics, and he has never seen such a kind of notes. The maximum he had seen that 5 rupees note and the 10 rupees note, and his earning was something nickels or the copper, that means only coins he earned so far, and the notes he has never seen. Okay, the notes he has seen, that is 5 rupees and the 10 rupees, and more than that he has never seen. Now he understood that there is a financial element entering in the topic, and he was wondering what was the reason for showing such a kind of notes, the colored notes, and he thought that he may be asking for the changes, and he laughed to himself. That means a foreigner or a person is asking to a poor person change for 1,000 or 10,000 rupees. He said with grin, "Ask our village headman, who is also a money lender. He can change even 1,00,000 of rupees in gold sovereigns if you prefer it that way. He thinks nobody knows, but dig the floor of the puja room and your head will reel at the sight of the hoard. The man disguises himself in rags just to mislead the public. Talk to the headman yourself, because he goes mad at the sight of me." So here he says, if you want the change, then it is better that you ask the village headsman. And what is the speciality of this village headsman? He is having much money. He said with a grin, means with a smile, he said that it is better that you just ask with the village headsman, and he is a money lender, and he can even change 1,00,000 rupees gold if you want in that way. If you want the gold in 1,00,000, then that also you will get from the village headman. That means the village headman is such a rich person. And again, adding to that, Muni says that by digging the puja room, we will get more amount of money, but in front of other people he is disguised. That means gives a different appearance. In front of the public he is appeared as a poor person by wearing rag cloth, that means old clothing, just misleading the public. He is having much money and he is a rich person, but at the same time he is not showing such a kind of richness in front of other people, and in front of other people he is acting as a poor person. Here we can notice that Muni asked the foreigner to ask the change to the village headsman, and Muni is not ready to ask for change. Why? There is some kind of fight between Muni and the village headsman, and village headsman, he is not interested in seeing Muni. Talk to the headsman yourself, because he goes mad at the sight of me. That means there is a clash between Muni and this village headsman. And what is the reason for that one? That we will see in the next lines. Someone took away his pumpkins with the creeper, and he for some reason thinks it was me and my gods. That is the reason for the clash between village headsman and Muni. Someone has taken the pumpkins with the creepers of village headsman, and village headsman thinks that it was stolen by Muni and his gods. That is the reason for the clash or the fight between Muni and the village headsman. And that is why I never let my gods be seen anywhere near the farms. So he never sent his gods in front or near to the farms of this village headsman, because the village headsman always think that Muni and the gods, they take the pumpkins and destroy his farms. His eyes traveled to his gods, nosing about. Nosing about means searching for food, searching for the grass, attempting wrest nutrition from minute greenery peeping out of rock and dry earth. Wrest nutrition, that means forcibly trying to get something from the rock or the dry earth. The gods were trying or searching to get the food or the plants. So from this paragraph, we can understand that Muni, he understood that there is a financial element entered in their talk, and he was not actually understood what was the reason for this financial element, and it is his first time in his life he saw such a kind of 100 rupees note, and he thought the foreigner was asking for the change. So in a response, Muni told to foreigner that he doesn't have any change, it is better to ask village headsman, and he is having enough money. But Muni is not ready to go with this foreigner or ask for the change. Why? Because Muni and the village headsman, they are in fight and they are already clashes going on. And the reason is that someone has taken the pumpkins and the creepers, pumpkins with the creepers of this village headsman, and the village headsman thinks that Muni and his gods did that one. So that is the point we get from here. So Muni is totally confused again. The foreigner followed his look and decided that it would be a sound policy to show an interest in the old man's pets. He went up casually to them and stroked their backs with every show of courteous attention. So the last line of the last paragraph, we have seen that his eyes traveled to his gods. That means the eyes of Munis traveled to his gods. And the same way in this paragraph we can see that the foreigner followed his look. That means the look of Muni, and he found that the gods were grazing there. And the foreigner thought that it will be a good policy to just show some kind of interest on the old man's pets. So he just went there and made a stroke on the backs of these gods in order to show his manners. Now the truth dawned on the old man. His dream of a lifetime was about to be realized. He understood that the red man was actually making an offer for the gods. Now Muni understood that the foreigner is making an offer for the gods. Actually, what is the intention of the foreigner? He wanted to buy the horse, but Muni is puzzled, and Muni understands that the foreigner is asking to sell the gods, and that is why the foreigner offered the money. And now the truth dawned, that means become evident. Dawn means become evident. What is the truth? Become evident that he can sell the gods right now. And his dream of lifetime, that about the life we will discuss later. And now anyway Muni understood that the foreigner wants his gods, and that is why the foreigner offered the money. He had reared them up in the hope of selling them someday, and with the capital opening a small shop on this very spot. That is the dream and the hope of Muni. He reared up, brought up these gods for what purpose? To sell them one day, and with that money, with that capital, open a small shop. That is the dream of Muni. And where he wanted to open the shop, that is discussed in the next lines. Sitting here watching towards the hills, he had often dreamt how he would put up a thatched roof here, spread a gunny sack out on the ground, and display on it fried nuts, colored sweets, and green coconut for the thirsty and famished wayfarers on the highway, which was sometimes very busy. And now he just speak about his dream. He just think about the dreams. Earlier we had seen that the dream was to sell the gods and open a shop. And where he wanted to open the shop? The same place where he is sitting. That means near to the horse statue and near to the highway. And he wanted to open a shop there. And his plan is mentioned here. And he would put up a thatched roof here, a small shop there. And in that one, there will be a gunny sack out on the ground. And display what all other things he is going to display in his shop: fried nuts, colored sweets, and green coconut for the thirsty and famished. Famished means very hungry or extremely hungry. And wayfarers, that means the people, those who are travelers. The travelers, there is coconut for the extremely hungry travelers on the highway, which was sometimes very busy. And then about the description about the animals. With that purpose only he brought up the animals. And now again he feels the animals were not prize one for a cattle show. That means they are not that much good for a cattle show to present for a particular competition or something. But he has spent his occasional savings to provide them some fancy diet now and then. And they did not look too bad. They did not that much good for a fancy show or a competition, but at the same time, Muni managed to give sometimes a good diet or good food for the animals, so they don't look too bad. While he was reflecting on this, the red man shook his hand and left on his palm 100 rupees in tens now. Suddenly realizing that this was what the old man was asking, it is all for you, or you may share it if you have a partner. So here, the foreigner took the hands of this old man and put 100 rupees in tens, and then said to this old man that if you have any partner, then you can share this money with your partner. The old man pointed at the station wagon and asked, "Are you carrying them off in that?" So here Muni, he wanted to know how he is going to take the animals. Actually what the foreigner is going to take the statue, but Muni is thinking that the foreigner is going to take the gods. So he is asking, how do you carry the things or the animals? And pointing to the wagoner, he thought that the foreigner is going to take the animals in the wagon. Yes, of course, said the other, understanding the transportation part of it. Okay, that part the foreigner understood. By pointing the wagon only, Muni asked. Because of that, the foreigner understood that he is asking about how to carry the statue. The foreigner thought that he is asking about the statue, but actually Muni intended that how to carry the gods. The old man said, "This will be their first ride in a motor car. Carry them off after I get out of sight, otherwise they will never follow you. But only me, even if I am traveling on the path of Yamaloka." He laughed at his own joke, brought his palms together in a salute, turned round and went off, and was soon out of sight beyond a clump of thicket. Here in this paragraph, the old man says that this is the first time his gods are traveling on a motorcycle. And adding to that, he says, take the animals once he leaves the place. Only when the old man leaves the place, then only take the animals with the foreigner. That is the thing Muni says to the foreigner. Otherwise, what will happen? The gods may follow the real owner, that is Muni. And he says, adding to this, he says that even they will follow me on the path to the Yamaloka. On the path to the Yamaloka. That means even at the time of death also these gods will follow Muni only. That is the commitment of the animals, the love of animals. They won't leave their real owner. Even though there are many difficulties or calamities are there, they will be always with their masters or the real owner. So that is why, because of that assurity, Muni is saying that take the animals once I leave the place. First I will leave the place, then you take the animals, otherwise the animals are not going to come with you. Then saying that one, what he did, he just saluted the foreigner for giving such a kind of offer. Then he turned round and went off, and was soon out of sight beyond the clump of thicket. Clump of thicket means the plants that grows very closer or together. So he just disappeared from the place after handovering the goats to the foreigner. The red man looked at the goats grazing peacefully, perched on the pedestal of the horse, as the westerly sun touched off the ancient faded colors of the statue with a fresh splendor. He ruminated, he must be gone to fetch some help, I suppose, and settled down to wait. So the old man, he went away from the place, and this foreigner, American traveler, he was waiting for the Muni's arrival, and he thought he just watched the animals grazing on the field very peacefully, and he perched, that means taking a rest on the pedestal. He just took a rest for a while on the pedestal of the statue, and he was waiting for Muni's arrival. And he thought, he ruminated, he thought deeply. That ruminated means think deeply. He thought that the old man had gone to fetch some help from others, to get some kind of help from others in order to remove the statue from its pedestal. But that time a truck came downhill. He stopped it and got the help of a couple of men to detach the horse from its pedestal and place it in his station wagon. So that time, while he was waiting for Muni's arrival, one truck came and he stopped that one, and few people were there, and he got the help from that people And in a way, he just removed, detached, that means separated the horse from its pedestal and placed the horse in his wagon or the car. And for this one, he gave them 5 rupees each. And for further payment, they siphoned of gas from the truck. Siphon of means they just, by using the tubes, they just carried the diesel or gas from their vehicle to the vehicle of the foreigner. So, by using the tube, convey something to other place. That is the siphon off. He just paid some additional amount to the people, those who came by truck, and they just gave him gas. Because of that, his engine got started. So from this paragraph, you can understand that Muni went off from the place. Then the foreigner was waiting for him, expecting that Muni may bring some kind of help in order to detach the horse. But he didn't come, so he got some help from some travelers, and he helped him to they helped him to detach the horse, and for that he gave 5 rupees each. And again he paid additional payment in order to get the gas, and because of that his engine got started. The last paragraph in page number 66. Muni hurried homeward with the cash securely tucked away at his waist in his dhoti. He shut the street door and stole up softly to his wife as she squatted before the lit oven, wondering if by a miracle food would drop from the sky. Muni displayed his fortune for the day. She snatched the notes from him, counted them by the glow of the fire, and cried, 100 rupees, how did you come by it? How have you been stealing? So some words you can just notice. Securely tucked means he just folded the money at his waist. Then stole up means to approach someone very secretly. See, he just entered the house very secretly and approached his wife as she squatted. Squatted means she sitting. So Muni hurried towards his home and folding money at his waist. And then he entered the house very secretly and approached his wife. And she was sitting there expecting some food. By miracle, any food may come. She was expecting. And all over a sudden, Muni showed the fortune. That means this 100 notes, the 10 rupees, 10 notes, he showed his wife. And wife was totally amazed and surprised. And she is asking, how did he manage to get such a kind of amount? And she is saying that whether she is asking to Muni whether he has stolen this money from someone else. Page number 67. I have sold our gods to a red-faced man. He was absolutely crazy to have them. Gave me all this money and carried them off in his motor car. So earlier his wife asked whether Muni had stolen this animal from someone else. So in response to that one, Muni is saying that it is not stolen by me, but a red-faced man. He gave me this money and I sold our gods. For that he gave the money, and he was absolutely crazy to give this much amount of money for our 2 gods. And hardly had these words left his lips when they heard bleating outside. She opened the door and saw the 2 gods at the door. Here they are, she said. What is the meaning of all this? So while he was explaining how he managed to get this much amount of money, they heard a bleating sound or something. Bleating sound means a weak sound of gods, the sound made by the gods, and they heard the sound. So Muni's wife opened the door and found that the gods were there. So again she was totally confused because Muni told that it is not stolen, but he got the money from a red-faced man by selling the gods. But here the gods are there in front of their house, and she was totally surprised and amazed, and he is asking to her husband that what is the meaning of all this and how did you manage to get this much amount of money. The last paragraph of the story. He muttered a great curse and seized one of the gods by its ears and shouted, "Where is that man? Don't you know you are his? Why did you come back?" The god only wriggled in his grip. he asked the same question of the other two. The goat shook itself off. His wife glared at him and declared, "If you have thieved, the police will come tonight and break your bones. Don't involve me. I will go away to my parents." So when he found that animals are there, then he muttered, he said a great curse and seized one of the goats by its ears. He caught the ears of one goat, and then he asked the goat, "Where is that man?" And he is saying that, "Now you are his property, not mine, and you have to go with him. Why did you come back?" And the goat only wriggled. Wriggle means twisted its head and turned away. And he asked the same question to other goat also, and the goat shook itself off. Then his wife, he was not understanding anything, but she thought that the person has stolen the money from someone else. That is why she is asking or saying to her husband that his wife glared at him and declared, "If you have thieved," that means if you have stolen the money from someone else, then surely the police will come tonight and break your bones. And don't involve me. I will go away to my parents. Earlier, if you have noticed, when he said about the animals won't leave their master. He said that even they are ready to come with me on the path of Yamaloka. But the very attitude of human beings, it is something very different. Even the wife, she is not ready in the trouble situations. Actually, there is no trouble situation because he actually sold his goats, but the person took the horse away. So that is the end of the story. I hope that you understood the story. It is very simple, but as I said, it is a long short story. In this story, it is taking place in a village called Kridam, and there lives a person called Muni. He is a poor person. One day he got 6 drumsticks and he wanted to cook that one, but nothing was available in their house in order to cook the drumsticks. So his wife asked him to buy the ingredient to cook the drumsticks. So he went to the shop, but the shop owner didn't give anything. So he returned and asked his wife to sell the drumstick. So in return, his wife told him to take the animals in order to feed them. So as usual, he took the animals to the highway side, near the highway, and there he sat on the pedestal of a particular horse statue. And while he was taking the rest, one car came, a wagon came, and in that there was a foreigner. And there develops a conversation between the foreigner and the old man, that is Muni. And Muni was totally confused with the arrival of this foreigner because he thought that this foreigner is a police person because of his khaki dress, and he was there to investigate the murder that took place few weeks before. But as the conversation develops, Muni understands that he is not there to arrest him or inquire about the murder, but he understood that this person is something good because the foreigner offered Muni a smoke or cigarette. So he was very happy, and the conversation again develops, and finally there is a bargaining about the horse. The foreigner wanted to buy the horse, and Muni didn't understand that one, and foreigner told Muni that he will pay 100 rupees, and he paid the 100 rupees. But Muni thought that he actually paying the money for his goats, and he sold his goats to the foreigner. Then once he sold his goats, then he left the place and he came back to his home and said everything to his wife, but his wife didn't believe him. But later his goats also arrived there. And later his goats also arrived there. So his wife totally confused, and she said that you have stolen the money from someone else, and if that is true, then the police will come and your bone will be, they will break your bones, and she is going to leave him if the police comes. So that is the end of the story. I hope that you understood very well, and if there is any doubts, you can just clarify the doubts and you can send the messages and I will clear the doubts in the next class. And for your homeworks, you may please write a just short summary of the story. That means 1 or 2 pages. That is enough. Maximum 2 pages. Then may solve the 3 unsolved paragraph given in your workbook. Thank you. Have a nice day.